Welcome, College of Eastern Idaho students, staff, faculty, community members, other people to Falcon Features.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be back with you.
With Vice President Lori Barber and myself, Dean Mike Walker. How are you all doing? I had a good vacation, so I was away last week.
We missed you, Mike.
I was missed, so that's good.
Haley did a great job in your steed.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. I will have to watch that one. I haven't had a chance yet. I was bummed that we had Amy on, but because I wanted to interview her, but I was thrilled that we had Amy on because she's excellent. So
she's amazing. Yes, but today we have someone amazing as well. We'll get to that later.
We do. Well, we can give it a teaser so that people can tell their friends.
All right.
So we're excited to have Dr. Ryan Faulkner,
our Dean of Online Learning.
Yes, exactly. So, well, good. Well, welcome. And Lori has our wonderful quote of the day today.
All right. So welcome, everybody. And like I said, Mike, it's great to be back with you today. My quote of the day comes from Michelle Ruiz, who is an entrepreneur and award-winning broadcast journalist. She's an author, public speaker, and also a mom. And she writes, if people are doubting how far you can go so far that you can't hear them anymore. Like most of the quotes, I love this quote. Most of the quotes I use on the show, I love this quote. So, it's just a fact of the matter. You're always going to have somebody somewhere in your life who doubts you or who says, who do you think you are to dream so big? And interestingly, that person might even be you. So it's really important to learn to silence those negative voices in your own head and also to try and distance yourself from people who doubt you or make you doubt yourself. So I think one of the first steps towards realizing your goals is to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who encourage you and who believe in you. And sometimes that means believing in yourself, maybe when nobody else does. So there you have it, Mike. There is my quote and thoughts around that quote.
Well, Lori, I appreciate that thought and I appreciate that quote. It really makes me think of my own life right now. I've been doubting myself a lot as I've been writing my dissertation. It's been a long journey, too long, far too long. And I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a lot harder than I ever expected it would ever be. Yes, it's important to not doubt yourself. It's important to surround yourself with people who really believe in you. So, well, I think, Lori, you have the first update.
Okay, Mike. And Mike, we all believe in you and that you're going to finish that dissertation and you're going to have to give that right back to me in about a year when
I will do it.
So, all right. So COVID updates. Mike, guess where I just came from?
Of a clinic where you received something.
Yes, I finally received my COVID vaccine. So I got the Johnson & Johnson. I'm one and done. So in 2 weeks, I will be good to go. So, and with that, I have some COVID reminders. So the CEI COVID updates page can be found. If you go to our front page of our website, it's just right there. As always, you can report any COVID related questions or concerns, including positive tests to covid@cei.edu. So also with that, I just want to encourage and remind everybody that we still are requiring masks on campus. Not everybody has that vaccine and that we are not out of the woods yet. We've been so good here on campus about keeping everybody safe and keeping our campus open. So please, please, please make sure that you are still wearing your masks when you are on campus. Make sure you are physically distancing, wash those hands good, and let's see this thing through. And maybe by fall, I can't promise, obviously I'm not promising, but maybe by fall we can be back to some sense of normalcy here on campus.
Amen to that. And I also want to echo, I got my first shot. I didn't get the Johnson & Johnson. I got my Moderna first shot a few weeks ago. And so I will get my second shot in mid-April. And so then we'll have a lot more people. A lot of people on campus I know are going. But, the community may want to know this, that anyone can go get their vaccination now if they want to go from Monday through Friday between 2 and 6 p.m., 2330 DeSoto Street, Idaho Falls, near Ermac Hospital. And you can get your vaccination there.
Yeah, I would also say that Walmart has about, as of yesterday.
On Utah Avenue?
I'm sorry, yes, thank you. Walmart on Utah. Thank you for that specification. Walmart on Utah Avenue They have about 70 doses. As of yesterday, they had about 70 doses of the Johnson & Johnson. You do have to go online to make that appointment to be able to make an appointment to be able to go get that, but it's all easy. Anyway, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, I've got our next update. 1098T tax information is available. If you gave consent to view your 1098T online, it's available in self-service. If you do not give consent, a paper copy has already been mailed to the address on file. This is for all students. Cashier's office, you can call at 208-524-3000, option 3 if you have any questions about 1098Ts, payment plans, or e-refunds. And direct deposit is available for e-refund. And you just sign up for the e-refund to receive those refunds directly deposited into your checking or savings account. So check out that and call the cashier if you have any questions.
That is so awesome. All right, I have some food pantry updates. So the food pantry is fully stocked for any student in need of items to take home or grab and go for meals on campus. We're super excited about this. You can contact the Center for New Directions in Building 5, Room 591, or you can call them at 208-535-5363 to make arrangements. Also, the Center for New Directions is currently hosting study strategy workshops. Watch your email for those updates. Be sure you are checking those emails at least once a day. We like to remind you guys of that all the time because sometimes it's easy to forget when there's so many other things going on. But we send a lot of really great information via email. In fact, that's our primary form of communication with you. So make sure you're checking your emails.
I've got a last minute update for my watch, so it's going to look like that. I'm reading it from my watch. The food pantry is open now for drop-in Mondays from 12:30 to 1:30 and Thursdays from 1 to 2. And as Lori mentioned, always by appointment. So we're excited to have drop-in food pantry now open. Also, if you're feeling anxious about the end of the semester and want to talk about study strategies and test-taking strategies, they do have appointments available in the Center for New Directions. And again, that number is 535-5363 or stop by Building 5, Room 591, as you can see on the screen. Okay, I've got some financial aid updates for everybody. The FAFSA is open for Fall 21 and Spring 22. So complete it now so you'll be ready for Fall 21. It's not too late to complete the FAFSA for Summer 21. And you can use your 2018 income. Again, the FAFSA, for those that don't know, that's how you get some financial aid. So it's a really great thing. It stands for Free Application for Student Aid, for Federal Student Aid. And the FAFSA is free. So if you go to a website and they're trying to charge you, you've gone to the wrong site. If the best place to go is to the financial aid office if you have any questions. You can also fill out the CEI summer application once you've registered for summer classes to see if you have financial aid remaining for eligibility for summer semester. So that's always a good idea. Withdrawing from a class or a few classes can affect your satisfactory academic progress. So be sure to check out the financial aid before you drop classes and to contact them either virtually or in person in their office and just to see how you'll be affected if you decide to drop some classes.
All right, I have just a little bit more about financial aid. So withdrawing from all classes will cause a payback to your financial aid. So please contact the financial aid to discuss your options and potential payback. And you might want to do that before you withdraw. The last day to withdraw from late 8-week classes is April 16th. If you need some information about scholarships, that information you can call 208-535-5616 to get some information on that, or you can go to the financial aid office or the foundation office. And the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund 2, or HERF 2, provides emergency funding to institutions of higher education to assist students in need during the coronavirus pandemic. CEI has received funds and will be dispersing these funds to students in the next few weeks. So again, please watch your email for further information.
That's super exciting. We've really been happy with how we've been able to distribute those funds in the past, and we're looking forward to the additional distribution for our students. Well, those are all of our updates.
All right, that might be the record, Mike. It
was pretty quick, and I still had some weird little banter that made it longer. So
well, that just makes it fun, Mike.
That's right.
So we are so excited to have our guest today, our special guest that we always interview on the show. It's Dr. Ryan Faulkner, and he is our Dean of Online Learning. So Ryan is a 4th-generation Idahoan from a very, very small farm community in Southeast Idaho. He has 20 years of professional distance education work experience, beginning his professional career at Idaho State University, managing those video courses. While at ISU and working full-time, he completed a master's degree in instructional technology and later a doctoral degree in higher education leadership in 2015. In January of 2018, Ryan was hired by CEI to develop an online learning program, and has he done an amazing job at that. So we are thrilled to have Ryan both here on the show with us and also leading the charge in our online learning here at College of Eastern Idaho. So Mike, I will let you ask that first question.
Sure. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to work for College of Eastern Idaho.
Well, I think the introduction, you're all hear me, right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Live from the Office of Online Studios. Want to make sure our technology is working well. So
that's a good thing, Ryan.
So I won't go over too much. Basically, I grew up in a little town called Bancroft. Most people know it is close to Lava Hot Springs, where the hot pools are. So it's not too far away, but basically, I've been doing distance education for about 24 years if I start back as a student, but I've been doing it professionally for 20 years. So as stated, I started off doing web video conferencing, and then some technical, like building smart classrooms, things like that. And then since 2011, I've been doing online learning. So how I got to CEI, I think we can thank Vice President Barber for a little bit of that. So I had worked with her when she was at ISU, and when the opportunity arose, they reached out to me and seemed like a good fit. And here we are. So
I had forgotten that part of the story. I didn't remember that. That's awesome. I mean, now I do, but yeah, great.
So
it's been quite the little growth pattern, but there's been some consistency since day one, which has been nice. So
yeah,
Ryan was one of the first people. So one of the first online classes, the first online class I ever taught, I took over a class in mid-semester, and the class had been kind of a little bit of a disaster because there had just been some issues with the instructor. I'd never taught online before, and they just said, "Here, you'll do fine," and gave me nothing else. And so I was like, "Where do I go?" So I ran to the ITRC department. Ryan was there and got me going on the right track. So anyway, that's how Ryan and we've known each other a long time. All right, so I have the next question for you. So you are the new Dean of Online Learning. How will this impact our student population and the student body? What are some of the ideas you have planned as Dean of Online Learning?
Well, taking a step back a little bit, the job's kind of grown quite a bit over the last 3 years, so it was never our intentions to make things grow as quickly as they did, and with COVID, that kind of changed things up a little bit. So one thing that we've done, I think, since day one that's been very helpful for all of us is we never wanted to rush into and just make everything fully online. There's a lot of respect that CEI is built on ITech's bones. There's a lot of CTE, there's a lot of trades and technical education that is not done very well fully online. So we're always going in that area just to make sure that we're building classes that are needed. I want to thank the other deans for all the help that they've assisted. They've been so overwhelmed with everything that's been going on as well, but they've really brought me a seat at the table even before this dean's position had came up, because we all have to be on the same level. We all need to be in the same pathway. So that's been very helpful in looking at what our future is. And so it's not just our department building the future, it's the entire administration, but working really closely with the deans and the academic deans, and specifically to figure out what's best for students. So at the moment, things that are going to be growing are just trying to figure out how to continue our pathways. We've built our associate's degree we've created the pathway, I guess, for the Gen Ed, Associate of Arts, Associate of Science degree pathways can be done fully online. We began with our 36 credit certificate, but we're always trying to find those ways to help, whether it's our high school dual credit students or whether it is just anybody in the community or somebody that's looking to move on to the 4-year or just get their associates. We're just looking for pathways to give people multiple modalities on how they can get that education. So that's where I see online going, not just specifically that we're trying to build an online college by any means, but just try to give more opportunities to those students who need it where they need it. And that's been really helpful in having some student feedback in people that just can't, before the virus hit and people were just like, hey, I've got these restrictions that keep me from coming to campus, or I live here, or I do this. So it's been really nice that we were trying to grow that. Coronavirus just kind of helped that blow up a little bit, and I could see that been kind of difficult on some students that didn't necessarily want to be in the online realm, but we're really trying to take heed as to what we can do to help everybody out and try to make it the best experience. So
Yeah, it's been really impressive to see how your team and our faculty have adapted, and even in my area, in the student services area, to see how we've made adjustments for this because of the many unwanted but needed changes due to the coronavirus pandemic. So
absolutely. I just want to, and Mike, I want to go back. Your team over there has been great in reaching out to students and making that, a priority. And it just goes back to show that we are trying to do that students first ability of that. But with some virtual campus things that are coming up, there's a lot of really great future moving forward. So things are just going to get better.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what's critical, right? Recognizing, how can we best serve all of our students? And, some of our students, the way that we serve them online makes them decide whether or not they're going to take an online class. So like we have fully face-to-face service students fully face-to-face students that are serviced fully online, right? And that then makes them feel more confident in maybe they'll take an online class. And it works both ways, of course. So I think that's cool. So my next question, you can answer it with CEI as a goal in mind, or you can talk about it in general, however you want to take it. What do you think will be the crystal ball for online learning in the coming years?
That's a really great question, and I wish I had all the answers. I could probably make some good money right now consulting, but I do believe the trend is, I think coronavirus has changed higher education. That can be seen as a good thing, can be seen as a bad thing. I would hate for us to just believe that we're going to end up turning everything online. Like I said, I see so many values to hands-on learning and all that. I see that the speed at which the support of those programs, whether it's those gen ed requirements or just the ability to get students doing things in a different format where they can be more hands-on in other areas. So I think online's it's been growing steadily, I think, for the last 10, 15 years. It's going to continue to grow. I'm hoping that we can get some more standardization. We can make it easier for students to access the materials. And I would like to see, at least here in our part of Idaho, that maybe the bandwidth and some of those technologies catch up so that we can do things a little bit, at a higher quality, I think, for the students out there.
Yeah. So the thing is that coronavirus has shown us that probably higher ed is never going to go back to as many students face-to-face as we had before. I mean, we are always going to offer face-to-face classes. I just want to say that. But I think a lot of students who maybe were reluctant before, and because they had to a year ago, and now they've realized the convenience of having either a HiFlex, an interactive web conference, or a fully online class. And so I think that convenience for students, I think a lot of them have found, wow, it's really not so bad to do an online class. And I think specifically, and I don't know I haven't actually looked over these questions, and maybe you're going to talk about this later, but the quality control that we're doing with our classes and the checklist and how we're assessing to make sure that our classes are top quality, what you and your department have done in that realm, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I've got a great team, and hopefully we can continue to make things. It grew a little bit quicker than we were hoping to, so we've kind of had to throw some courses out there that the faculty have done a fantastic job of doing their absolute best to get things out there. We really try to work with the faculty and the chairs and the deans as much as possible to make sure that we're at least trying to get everything done, but we really are trying to put a student first mentality towards it to figure out, and listening to some of the things that we've read some of the survey comments and some of the things coming back. Trying to make sure that we're listening to.
Yeah. Okay, so I have the next question. So we thought in the midst of a global pandemic and tremendous growth, we thought, why not switch our LMS from Blackboard to Canvas? So why not, right? We do it all here at CEI. So what changes do you anticipate with the switch from Blackboard to Canvas, and how is that transition going?
It's a tricky transition, to say the least. The timeline was a little bit short, but we're moving forward. And for any of those that may not have heard fully, we will be on Canvas beginning in summer. We're doing some pilot courses right now, and they seem to be going very well. So summer will be kind of our first real foray into it, and then obviously fall will be 100% ready to go. So the tricky parts are it's something new. It's going to be something new for our students to learn, but in the feedback we've been getting with what's been, with the courses that we've been offering right now, it seems the students are fairly excited about it. Before we put anything out to these first courses, we actually went and randomly kind of picked some students and asked them to go over some of what we were building for the standard of the front pages and things like that. And it seemed that most students, it wasn't like hey, it's the greatest thing in the world, or hey, it's the worst thing in the world, but there was this little bit of optimism that was coming through, going, this looks better than what I'm used to. The folder structures or the way it's moving through there. So we think the navigation is going to be a really cleaner aspect for our students, and it seems like so far most of the students that we've talked to have been pretty excited about it. The faculty that are using it, I feel bad, some of them kind of got pushed in really quick. So like I said, we've got some amazing faculty members, and over the last year, they've had to flex and kind of move towards what's going on at a really quick pace, and they've been up for the challenge. And so, like I said, we've had a few faculty over the last year and a half that had been teaching at other institutions before coming here, really liked the Canvas platform. We knew Blackboard was getting a little bit old in the tooth, and that they're going to be making some changes to a whole different level of an LMS in the next few years. So it was something we'd been thinking about, but yeah, it's going to be kind of a tricky move, and we'll do our absolute best to make sure that the faculty and the students are covered, and hopefully we get it all out there and ready for them to go. And it's to me, it's an exciting move. I think it's going to be a good move for everyone.
And the faculty have been just spectacular about taking us on too in such a short timeline amidst the global pandemic.
One thing after another, they've done a great job of, like I said, kind of just jumping on and moving forward.
Amazing.
And we have some faculty that are teaching in both Blackboard and Canvas right now, right? Like there is a few of them that are doing both.
Absolutely. And I've actually talked to a couple students who are in both courses now
really?
for the late 8 weeks, and it sounds like overall they really do like the look and the feel. It might just be something new, exciting, a little bit cleaner looking, but in the end, it's good. It sounds to me like it's a positive move forward. So,
oh, that's great. All right. So, what advantages do we have in online learning as a small Idaho community college?
Just as we were just talking about the LMS transition. The amount of courses that we have to move over, and our team's really trying to take that load off of the faculty members, so we could try to get things moved over and let them focus on teaching and all that. We didn't have to pay anybody to go and do it. Some schools are so huge, they just have to pay somebody to do it. And I don't know that they get the same quality. I haven't seen that process. We didn't go that route, but we're able to get things moved over, and we are moving this on a very quick timeline. So I'm looking at some of our counterparts that are much, much larger schools. Yes, they've got great big teams, but that's still to do it with quality and to do it with respect, to get things over, and not only just do the transitions, but the training and all those kind of things. It can be awfully expensive, and I think we found a way to do it. And like I said, the faculty are no strangers to difficult times, and so they've really jumped on. And we understand there might be a little bit of fatigue there, but we're really grateful for what they're doing, and are just trying to do our best to help them and support them as well.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, really good. And it will be interesting to see how quickly Online Idaho grows and how that benefits the whole state, and not just our students, but beyond for the whole state. All right, so Ryan, what is instructional design? What in the world do instructional designers do?
I'm going to kind of steal from my notes. I was talking to one of my team members who is our guru, and I'm going to throw that.
Here's the guru.
All the team's great. I've got Jennifer Taylor, we've got Connor Sperling, we've got Evan Peterson, and they're all working extremely hard at this point. But Jenny's been kind of our guru on the instructional design, and one of the things that we've really been trying to do is get that consistency across. But we did a little bit of digging, and I'm gonna break down and just kind of do the clinical definitions right here. But as an instructional design, basically we're going to determine the needs of learners. We're going to stop and figure out what we can do to help them out. Going to look at the research that's out there. We're going to define end goals and objectives of an instruction for each course. And not us in particular. This is just design. So faculty members are definitely a piece of this. Design and plan assessment tasks. Design teaching and learning activities to ensure quality of instruction. So what instructional designers do is they sit down with the teachers the best they can, or they work with teachers to do assessment, to help them with national standards, to help with standards. But a lot of it's navigation. A lot of it's about the look and feel. So we are not curriculum designers. We want to be very clear on that. Our faculty members are pros in that area. That is the number one bit of any well-designed course, is that content. We're just trying to help students get to the level where they can easily find that. So one of the things that we've been reading through some of the surveys is just that consistency consistency piece or that standards piece where it's like, I'm having a hard time finding this, or I'm having a hard time finding that. We're trying to address that a little bit. So regardless of whether you're in this class or this class, whether it's fully online, it's an interactive web conference, or whether it's a face-to-face, if we're using the LMS or the learning management system such as Canvas or Blackboard, that we are making sure that we're having the ability for people to find that content quick and easy. And one of the things that we would like to do in the future is to try to help some of the faculty create, there's some pushes for open ed resources and making things a little bit more cost effective for our students. Can we help faculty create some content? Can we help make some videos, or can we help make some simulations or some interactive activities and things like that? So we're a little ways away from that with the Blackboard to Canvas transition, but that would be the ultimate goal at some point in time, would be to do that, and that's what we would like to do as designers to help with faculty. So
great. Thank you so much. Well, that does answer a lot of questions for anybody who might wonder what an instructional designer does.
So I've got the next one. So tell us about what WCET is and what you do with them, and why that would be, or how it would be important for College of Eastern Idaho.
All right, I'm going to throw out a lot of acronyms here. So we've got WCT, which stands for the WICHE Cooperative of Educational Technology. What does WICHE stand for? It's the Western Interstate Compact for Higher Education. So that's the parent group to the group that I'm a part of right now. It's a group of 14 states that have come together as a compact to kind of discuss things about education technology and higher education. So we're a subset. So WCT is the subset of that. And basically, I was lucky enough to join up when I first got here within a few months. And I was lucky enough to snag a seat on a 15-seat steering committee. So the WICHE Cooperative is 14 states, but the WCT is actually national, and it's actually international to a point. We've got members in Canada, we've got members in New Zealand. So to have the ability to sit at this table as and my steering committee seat is for community colleges specifically. So they have different, 4 years, privates, publics. And then they have partners like business partners and things like that are in there to sit and talk about the things that are going on in education technology. Obviously, since COVID, a lot of the discussions have really stemmed around, well, one of the discussions that's always stemming is academic integrity and cheating and things like that. That's a constant when it comes to any digital education. But other things have been just quality online learning and teaching, building online programs, discussions about HighFlex and things of those nature. So there's a lot of talks in that area, but we also really stopped to talk about national standards, national practices, and as of the last couple of years, there's been a lot of discussion around from the government talking about federal guidelines and accreditation standards. So it's really the folks that I work with that are part of WCT. They are sitting in Washington, D.C. during some of these discussions with the Department of Education. And for the last year and a half, a lot of things have changed where we talk about professional licensure, where students from out of state might, in the past, it would have just been if they were taking actual distance education classes out of state. We never offered our professional licensure like nursing and some of those in a distance format. But now there's a new law that says that we have to make students aware, regardless of where they actually participate in the courses, if they want to go and get a professional license, take testing and things like that in their own state. So there's those kind of things. And then there's just some changes in what online's kind of looking like. They made some changes to things called like regular and substantive interaction. So how faculty are interacting with their students in a fully online environment, things like that. So these are things that we all need to be aware of, because they all can kind of come back and tie back to federal financial aid funding and things like that. So it's a really important group to be a part of. And even if I was on the steering committee, it's still extremely valuable, and members of our community have access to sit through webinars and do some trainings on certain things.
So Ryan, it's just amazing. So that the fact that you sit on this national group is directly impacting our students and the quality of education that they're getting. I mean, you kind of from the very beginning know what's going on in the world, the national world of online learning, and what regulations are coming that are going to affect our students. So we're pretty fortunate to have somebody like you that sits on that committee at our very tiny school. Really, we have a very small school. So
We do, but that's the beautiful thing about this organization is they really do want to hear what's going on with members. And community college is one of the areas that they've really wanted to really get an uptick in membership and just getting more people involved in. So it's great that they've given us an avenue to sit there.
Great. All right, we're going to take kind of a 90-degree turn. We've been talking about all things online learning, and now we're just going to try to get to know you a little bit more. So, Ryan, who inspires you and why?
That's simple. Our students do. I was lucky enough that when I was working at ISU, I worked with some folks that really took the customer service aspect of the job really seriously. And when you always boil down, and when I had student employees that were helping me with all that stuff, it's always easy to step back and say, why are we here? And it always goes back to, without the students, none of us in our positions sitting here in this meeting right now would be here. So to be honest, it always goes back to, so there's always that line where I work with faculty and they work with students, but it always comes back down to students. And I think my team and myself have really, that's what we try to, everything that we try to think of, or any sort of procedures we're working through, or any sort of new initiatives, we always want to put those students in that front line, because without them, I don't think we would be able to have any of this to move forward with, obviously.
Great. Thanks. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. That's one of the reasons that I like working here as well, is that it is a student-centered culture, and it's super important for us to always remember that. So you kind of talked about this a little bit with your WCET answer, but I'm sure there's other things as well that you can add to this. You've built strategic relationships that benefit CEI. Can you speak to why relationship building and networking are both so important for our students?
Right off the bat, when I took the job, there's no handbook on how to build an online program. A lot of people just did it over the years. It was just something they jumped into early and continued on. But to have that blank sheet and say, how do you just go ahead and start that? That's pretty rare, and that's one of the ways that I connected up with the WCT folks, because they saw that as, holy cow, this is a really cool experience. But they allowed me to, through their partnership, to do a webinar early on. And part of that webinar was, and this is something that had came out of me reaching out to other folks I knew from different organizations, but it came out to be, if you could restart your online program, what would you do differently? That's how we began that conversation. But from many different resources. I was lucky enough that I had folks within the state that I was able to communicate with early on at Boise State, or IDLA, and some of those organizations, and then through other either webinars or other conferences. I guess I'm just not shy enough to not reach out when they say at the end of here's my email, please reach out. So began talking to people at a fun one was Chicago Loyola. They've been in the men's basketball team have been in the news as of the last couple of years of Final Fours and Sweet 16s. Met some folks there, but from schools like that to the University of Michigan, to some private schools in Massachusetts, down to Texas, Pennsylvania. It's just California. I've been able to reach out to so many different people, but we're always at so many different levels. But we can always find ways to have those discussions. And when I'm talking to somebody at University of Wisconsin that has, 50, 60, 70,000 students, and they're telling me that they're having problems trying to get consistency back in their programs because they've got 7 gigantic colleges, and each of them are doing something different with their online. And then their accreditors come back in and say, oh, by the way, you all need to be consistent as a university system. And now you're trying to, and they've got 20 or 30 years. They're leaders in distance education, but there's certain standards that are changing. So it's always great to talk to people that have been out in the game for a really long time, but then we're reaching out to people that are fairly new, maybe not as new as we are, but, fairly new and just going through the ranks. So without them, I don't think the program, without connections and being this really amazing, and I think online learning in higher education is really one of the most friendly places I've ever been a part of. So everybody's so willing to help. So without that, I don't know that our program would be nearly as far as it is right now.
It's such a good point, Ryan. And that is advice that you can give your whole career, whatever position or whatever organization you're in. I think about when I come up with a question from one of my direct reports that I really don't know the answer to, I'm like, well, Let's dig into our network. Building a professional network is such an important piece to any position. Like, who do you know at other Idaho community colleges? Who do you know at other Idaho colleges? Who do you know around the country who's faced a similar problem? Who do you know that you just want to reach out and be your mentor, or reach out and get some quick advice or longer term advice? So I think that's really, really great advice. And speaking of advice, we have run through our questions. I don't know, Lori, before we do this question, do you have any more questions that you want to ask?
Well, no, but I just wanted to add on to something that Ryan said, which he said he's not too shy to, when somebody puts up their email and says, hey, if you want to contact me, here's the email address. And a lot of people don't take advantage of that. I think it's so important to not be shy, be bold. When somebody says, reach out to me, and it's somebody who you think might be able to help you or answer a question. I think it also is worth encouraging students to be bold and reach out to people who haven't said, reach out to me. If it's somebody that you think can help you or has an answer that you're seeking, reach out to them by email. I mean, the worst they can do is just not respond. And then you go, okay, they're probably too busy or whatever. It is certainly nothing personal if they don't respond, but they might respond and give you an answer or connect you with somebody who can help you in the next step, or who can answer that question even better. So
I'm going to piggyback even more before we get to your last question, Ryan. I'm just going to tell a quick story. I'm sorry to make this about me, but I think it's a really good example of this. So Lori talked about former students or former employees. I have a former employee who reaches out to me and he's asked for different things. Hey, can you connect me to this person? Connect me to that person. And it's funny, you never know what kind of connections people have. And the latest one he asked me was like, hey, Mike, do you know anybody who works for the Seahawks? And I'm like, I don't know anybody who works for the Seahawks, but he's a lawyer. And I said, but I do have a friend who works as a lawyer for the Seattle Mariners. And so anyway, I connected this friend to this person, and it was just all like, I'm just going to always ask Mike these weird questions and see what he comes up with. And, that's how I want to be with the people that I work with. And that's how students should want to be. And that's how we should all want to be. You built this program, Ryan, based on building networks and building
relationships and partnerships.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the word, but yeah, it's so important. That relationship building is the way you can get questions answered. And obviously you built it on your knowledge and experience, but whenever there's a gap, it's always good to go. And even if it's just for commiseration, to go to those networks and find that wisdom. So my last question for you, based on that advice, what are other parting words of wisdom that you might have for our students, things that they might want to know that you can give value to?
After kind of reading through some of the survey results from students in various aspects, I would just say hang in there. I know things are tough, and it's hard to see how much, this world's been in chaos for the last year, just with everything that's been going on. But I can tell you, and that's why I think it's important for me to start off by going, I came from a really small town, it was when I was going to high school back in the day, before the whole world of online learning, it was difficult for us to get some of these. There were such things as dual credit to a point. It was just at a completely different level, and you may have to take a class from, say, Texas A&M using a satellite dish, and the amount of money that was there was quite a bit to do such a thing. But the state's been great in the fact that they've got the fast forward funds and ways for students at a younger age to get through a little bit easier, get started, get moving forward. I would definitely say, without having my family kind of kicking me and to go and keeping going, I don't know that I would have went through and completed my education. But I also see that since I've been here, I came from ISU. Obviously, I wasn't a part of Eastern Iowa Technical College when it was still iTech. But seeing the doors and the opportunities and meeting with the students and the types of people that we're able to work with from all ages, it's just been an amazing transformation to watch and to see how it's been growing and blossoming and allowing people from different walks of life and different circumstances to come through. But I would just say, just keep doing it. And, hopefully online can help. I know we're going to work as hard as we can to make sure that we can do things safely and get, everything back to where it needs to be, the best we can, barring this COVID nonsense. But, hopefully we're opening some doors or opening some opportunities or helping people just move forward. And I would just say, just keep doing the best you can do and just keep moving forward.
So Ryan, that is fabulous. Just keep putting one step in front of the other, do the next thing, just keep moving forward. And we are here to help get you through. So thank you so much for all of those answers today, those words of wisdom, and for filling in some gaps for maybe some questions that our students had about online learning.
Thank you for having me on. So
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. This is great.
All right.
Okay, well,
I think that's what we have today.
Yeah, that's what we have today. So for next week, we will have another guest, maybe two, and we look forward to talking with you in 1 week. Have a great week, students, and don't hesitate to reach out. Remember, student.concern@cei.edu or 208-524-3000, option 4, if you have any questions or concerns. Oh, it looks like we do have one comment from John. Thanks for all the wonderful help that you've given me personally in getting up and going. That's to you, Ryan. So one of our faculty members saying thank you. I love it.
Thank you, John. Yeah, thank you so much for that comment. All right, students.
All right.
Stay safe. Everybody who's watching, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.